This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. Welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard. I'm excited to be with you today. Got another really good episode in store for you. Today, we're going to be breaking down the elements of how to plan, how to make your business more successful, right? Why? Well, it's that time of year. We're kind of into that fourth quarter. Everybody's pushing hard, full court press to end the fourth quarter on a really good note. Back in episode 127, just a few episodes ago, we talked about the end of year review, right? Why that's important, how to conduct an end of year review, so that you can understand how this year's been going, how to make those adjustments to the fourth quarter and put all your resources, all of your efforts, all of your time into the right things to finish the fourth quarter as strong as possible. But on top of the end of year review, this is the time of year in the fourth quarter where you're taking those lessons learned, taking that information and creating a new plan for the next year, 2025 in this instance, right? What is 2025 going to look like? How big do we want to go? How much better do we want to grow or improve or take our company to the next level? How do we do that? What do we want to stop doing? What do we want to do differently? What new products and services do we want to offer? All of these types of things are really important to the conversation. So today, we're going to be talking about why strategic planning is so important and how it can be a game changer for you that can make the difference between maintaining status quo and barely getting by and making your company as successful as possible. We're going to break that down and help you understand this process so you can implement this in your business. And there's reasons why I'm emphasizing this. There's reasons why this is crucial. And a lot of businesses don't plan, don't focus, don't make time to do the right things around planning. And we're going to kind of break that down and help you minimize those pitfalls. So let's get started. When you think about business, what's the number one thing that separates the most successful people from others? Why does Elon Musk succeed in big, bold manner? Why does Jeff Bezos succeed? Why does Bill Gates succeed? Why does Mark Cuban succeed? Why does any super successful business person succeed more than other people in business? Do you think that's do you think that's coincidence? Do you think, they have a magic pill they take? There's got to be a reason. Okay. The reason is they're really good at planning. They and their team make time, prioritize time to plan, to become masters of planning, right? There's an old saying, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. And as a business coach, I coach people all over the world. And I have found that people just, for whatever reason, are not planning enough. Not that you need to make this some long, drawn out, complicated, crazy thing, but they just aren't stopping and allowing themselves permission to think and plan and research and strategize on a level they need to. They think that they can just keep repeating what they're doing and just work harder at doing it. And all of a sudden, new, bigger, bolder things will happen. That's not really the case. We see that in sports. I'll give you an example. Peyton Manning. Most people know Peyton Manning. He was the quarterback of the University of Tennessee. He went on to play in the NFL for a couple of different teams. One of them was the Indianapolis Colts, and one of them, towards the end of his career, was the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best quarterbacks to play in the NFL. But why is he so great? What made him different than all the other quarterbacks, all the other players? What put him into MVP status level? What made him so popular? What made him so great at coming back and winning games when they were down, consistently taking teams to championships, winning Super Bowls, going to the final stages of going to the Super Bowl and going to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. He consistently did that. Why? What was it about him that allowed him to be this mega star, this great, awesome quarterback? And yes, he was a great athlete. Yes, he could, really throw the ball accurately. He could throw the ball a long ways down the field. He was good at rallying the people on the sidelines. He was a great overall quarterback. But what made him great, what enabled him to really truly be great and different from the good quarterback, was his ability to plan. So his routine was he would study film. He was known to be a master studier of film. He would study the opponents. He would study the players. He would study the play calls, when they make the calls, how they make the calls, what the signs look like, what configuration the defenses are going to be in, when they're going to blitz, when they're not going to blitz, and what happens when you put pressure on them over here, what happens if you do this over there. And he studied and studied and studied, and he would go out there and practice and apply those things he learned to the practice field with his teammates. And they were masters at slicing and dicing up defenses so that he can go out there and give his team the best chance to win. He studied more than any other quarterback out there. He researched, he analyzed, he broke things down into very detailed and simple levels and figured out how to counter those things, figured out where the gaps were, where the holes were. And so I ask you today, folks, you're listening today, the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the decision makers and companies that are listening today, how much do you plan? How much game film do you watch on your competitors? How much game film do you watch of your own team? How much do you study and analyze the game, the business that you're in, and how you're comparing? Are you on top of the game? Are you in the middle of the pack? Or are you at the bottom? Are you struggling? Are you thriving or are you surviving? All right. Well, the truth of the matter is, statistically, from a Harvard Business Review study, roughly 23% of businesses have a plan. 23% of businesses have a plan, which means a whopping 77% of businesses do not have a plan, do not have a plan. Now, if you're a competitive person like me, you're like, 77% of my competition doesn't have a plan. So if I come up with a really good plan, even if it's just a good plan, much less a great plan, and I put a plan into place, that's going to give me a massive advantage. That's going to give me a massive opportunity to outcompete the people trying to keep up with us. So do you want to be a trendsetter? Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be a follower? Do you want to be just kind of in a niche? kind of where do you want to be? Most business people that I talk to, they want to be great. They want to be the best. They want people buying their products and services versus somebody else's because they're passionate about what they do, how they do it, when they do it, and they normally feel they can do it better. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But it all centers around your ability to plan. For every 1 minute you put into planning saves you 10 minutes in execution, 10 minutes in reacting to something you didn't foresee happening, 10 minutes in managed chaos, 10 minutes in doing repeat work or duplicate work or fixing mistakes that people made because they weren't on the same page. They weren't communicating effectively. Why? Because there might be the 77% of people that don't have a plan. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple of reasons. You're like, well, what? That doesn't make sense to me, Jason. I don't understand why people aren't planning. This seems to just be a simple, easy thing to do. Sit down, plan things out, get everybody on the same page and execute, right? But 77% of people don't do it. And here's why. Some people feel that, planning and going through the planning process is only for the bigger companies, the bigger corporations. Not true. Every size company needs to plan, needs to think ahead, needs to be paying attention to what's going on, what's working, what's not working, how to mitigate their risk, how to survey the competitive market landscape and figure out where their opportunities are, and how to continuously improve and wedge into those areas and take opportunities that are there. A lot of people, they just don't understand the planning. They don't understand what all is involved in it and how to go through it in a methodical manner, and how to capture that, how much time to allocate to that, right? They just don't understand it. Another reason why people may not be doing planning is they feel like it's too formal or too complicated, or it takes away from their ability to be nimble. Quite often when I'm working with especially the small to medium sized businesses, they're like, oh, we just don't have time for planning. We're dealing with the day-to-day fires, and customers are coming at us left and right. We're just, working hard, and if we're just going to keep working hard, and we'll just keep doing what worked yesterday and just try to work harder and be better at that. Well, that's not a plan. And there's a limit to how hard you can work before you wear yourself out or the people around you. So that only carries so far. But they make excuses for that because they make a big deal about it. And they really just don't understand it. And it's really fear-based. Some people are scared if they put things in writing, they're letting go of control. They're letting go of information. They're withholding things. Some business leaders like to control things. And so if something's not in writing and the team is not all on the same page, then they can control the message. They can control how fast the company goes or how far the company goes, how they want to go. They can control the narrative. They can control the tempo and the pace and the priorities. And it also means that they can't be held as accountable, because if you have a plan and something's written on paper and everybody's aware of that and everybody's working towards that together, and something's not going well or somebody changes their mind at midstream, that means there's accountability that has to happen there. A lot of people run away from accountability. They just want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. A few other reasons, people make the excuse of being too busy. I don't have time. um they feel like because it's new or it's different or they're not used to it, it can create some stress, and they don't want to deal with stress. They don't want to deal with people asking them bigger questions and harder questions. If you go through the process, maybe they don't have the right answers. Maybe they don't know what to tell people when they ask them hard questions. They don't want to look like a fool. They don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. A lot of business leaders have egos. Some of them, want to be the smartest people in a room, right? And it puts them in a position where they may not look as smart. Okay, all of these reasons, quite simply, are excuses. There is no excuse. Everybody should have a plan. Every company should know where they are, where they're going, what their options are, and what the best roads to take are that allow them to be the most effective, most efficient at what they do. All right. When you think about planning, here's what happens when you don't have a plan. It's managed chaos. If there's no plan, there's no document that outlines the who, what, when, where, and why and how, then is the team on the same page? There's no page to align everybody to. If you ever go to church and you sing songs in church, they either have a hymnal in the front pew or they have a big screen TV hanging up on the wall that's got all the words to the music that you're going to be singing. So everybody can sing the song at the same time, the same verse in concert with each other, right? You're putting everybody on the same page. Well, when everybody in the company is not on the same page, then how do they know what to do every day, right? They're taking orders from their boss or their supervisor. It's reactive. It's, well, I think we're going to do this week. Hey, I think we should handle this problem this way because I feel that's the best way to do it. People are on the same page. That causes confusion at times. That causes frustration at times. What happens if the boss is on vacation or, is in the hospital getting a procedure done? What if there's no plan and the leadership is not there to guide and direct and tell people what to do every day? How do people know what to do? How do they know what priorities to work on? How do they know what they're doing is connecting to the greater good of the organization, of the goals and objectives that need to be achieved and set forth by the boss? None of that works. It's disconnected. And people are running around having siloed conversations with people that constantly change from person to person half the time. And it's managing chaos. The business owns you. You don't own the business. How sustainable is that? It's not. You can't sustain that. That will eventually burn people out. That will eventually cause people to leave and find another job in a more normalized environment where they don't have to deal with all those things. They don't have to chase people down to look for answers all the time. Everybody has a plan. And so I would highly encourage you, if you don't have a plan or anything that I'm saying is resonating and you're like, yeah, that kind of sounds like us, it's time to build a plan. If you don't have a plan, you can't grow. Plain and simple. Okay. Is that the kind of business you want to run? Probably not. There's a better way. So let's talk about how to break down planning to make it easy for you, to make it comfortable for you, to get something in place that is going to meet your needs, no matter what level company or what size company, what maturity level company you are at. And so let's level set here. We've been talking about strategic planning and why that's important, et cetera. Well, let's define what a strategic plan is. And I'm going to break this down for you. And hopefully at the end of this conversation today, you'll be able to take this, apply this in your business and do some great things with it. So what really is a strategic plan? It's a systematic process through which an organization defines its current position, future desired state, priorities, goals, strengths in their operations, in their ability to allocate resources to achieve the objectives in a very intentional manner. Okay? That really is a simple explanation of that, right? The primary purpose of a strategic plan is to provide a single single roadmap for the organization, guiding decision making and resource allocation to ensure the efforts are aligned with the organization's common mission and vision. It helps the organization navigate changing business environments and adapt to new challenges and opportunities that are in the long term best interest of the company, right? So I would invite you to center your thinking and your planning efforts around those definitions and what that is and what the purpose of that is and what the outcomes of that are that you really truly want to achieve. So I'm trying to simplify this for you because I don't want you to be one of the 77% that doesn't have a plan. I want you to be in that top quartile of people that do because you'll win and you'll go farther. And that's what I'm here to do is to help you be more successful. So, there is a 5-step process, 5 key questions that surround strategic planning. This is not complicated. This is not physics. This is not calculus. This is not rocket science. This is quite simply 5 basic things. All right. Number 1, where are we today? Where is our company today? Where are we in the market? How mature or immature are we? How competitive are we? Are we growing? Are we scaling? Are we profitable? Are we making as much money as we need to? Are we taking market share or are we losing market share? Are we status quo? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are the threats we face? What are the things that are happening in the world around us that we need to be paying attention to that could potentially disrupt us or cause us some undue challenges, right? Where are we today? So that is number 1. And that's where you do an end of year review. If you want to learn more about that, go back to episode 127 that breaks down how to evaluate your organization and look at your entire year, the current year or previous year, and how well you performed, right? Do a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I provided all that information to you there. So that's step 1 of the planning process is where are we today? Get numbers, data, facts, figures in front of you so you can understand with truth, how are we really doing? All right. Number 2 of the 5-step process. Where do we want to be in the future? Where are we going? What is this company going to look like in the next 2, 3, 5 years? How big do we want to go? What's going to be different at the end of this process? When we plan out the next few years, what's going to be different? What's it going to look like then compared to today? So that gets into your vision. The vision, where are we going? What are we aspiring to be? Do we want to be the best in the market? Do we want to be the cheapest in the market? Do we want to be the biggest in the market? Do we want to be the most customer friendly in the market? How much market share do we want? What is the vision? Where do we want to end up? The other component to that is the mission. Like, what are we doing to make the vision become a reality? That's the essence of our products and our services. Are we going to keep the same products and services? Are we going to delete some? Are we going to add some? What do we need to be doing with what we do every day and how we deliver them to ensure that the mission is in alignment with the new vision of where you want to go? The next thing is our purpose. Are we still purpose driven? Is our why we're in business and why we're here to serve and why we're here to produce things still the same? Do you still have the same passion, the same rigor, the same excitement in the company as you did? Or has that changed? Do you need to change that? Have things changed around you to make you rethink about your purpose and why you're doing what you're doing? And sometimes you need to evaluate that because things change, right? The next thing that's part of this is your core values and the principles that you're guiding and leading and doing things, in the community, making an impact for your employees and your customers and the community around you, right? And lastly is your culture. Is this a place that we're proud of? Is this a place where people want to come to work? They're lined up at the front door. They've heard about us. They like us and they just want to come to work here. There are places out there like Google where there's a waiting list to go to work at Google. Is that happening in your company? Or is there a lot of turnover? Is there a lot of confusion? Is there a lot of reputation damage, right? How do you want your reputation internally and externally to be? Those are all components of where are we going? What do we want to define as success for our future? That's step number 2. Here's step number 3, question number 3. So we've covered where we are today and where do we want to be in the future. Number 3, powerful question. What needs to change to guarantee the desired future outcomes we just defined in step 2? What needs to change? Do we need to change our products and services? Do we need to go bigger, faster, cheaper? Your value proposition, defining that value proposition. What makes us different and unique and special? Is it your customer service? Is it the quality of your products? Is it the friendliness of your service? Is it your response time? Like, really, truly, honestly, what makes you different? What is the real value that the people you're selling to are buying? Is it a feeling that you're always there? Is it confidence? Is it reassurance? Is it safety? Is it security? What is it? Defining that value proposition is critical. Defining your client profile. Are we targeting the right people? Do we need to shift to a different customer profile? Are we shifting industries? Are we shifting from one type of buyer to a different kind of buyer? Are we going from transactional to relationship or relationship to transactional? Or are we a combination of both? Are we targeting the right people? And if not, what needs to happen to make sure we're dialed in to the right kind of buyer persona, right? Another aspect of what needs to change your business model is what you're doing and how you're delivering your products and services good enough, strong enough, fast enough. Is the customer experience meeting the demands in this fast-paced, instant gratification world where the demands of the consumer are continuing to increase and increase and increase every single day? Is what you're doing good enough? Or do you need to change your business model to make it more conducive to that environment, to keep up with that, to get in front of that, to be proactive, and obviously give you an edge over other people? Might need to look at that. Your organizational structure. Do we have the right people and the right tools, the right equipment, the right resources at the right place at the right time? Are we best postured to win? And if not, you probably need to reorganize, right? In business, if you're not reorganizing the org chart and restructuring that every, 7, 8 months to 12 months, then you're probably not growing. All right. You've got to constantly be moving your people and resources around as things are happening throughout the year. Okay. And obviously your priorities. Are you dialed in on your priorities? What are your priorities going to be going forward? Why are the things you pick to be your priorities a priority over other things? All of those are components of step 3 of the strategic planning process, right? Where are we today? Where are we going tomorrow? And what needs to change to give us the best chance to get to this desired state we want to be in the future. The fourth component to this, the fourth step to this is what are the actions required to make the necessary changes? So we've talked about what needs to change. Great, we've identified the changes we want to make, but what are the actions? What's the next step, right? What needs to happen to actually execute those changes? When do we execute those changes? How do we execute those changes? Who executes those changes at different levels of your organization? Really important to know that. And those are tied to goals and objectives. That's when you and the team really need to break down the most important goals at the departmental level and the work center level that are all interconnected. So the things that the frontline employees are doing are goal related that connect to the departmental goals that are connected to the company goals. They need to interconnect. So everybody that works for you knows what they're doing, what the priorities are, what their goals are each week, and they know if they're hitting their goals or they're not hitting their goals, and that they're connected to the bigger picture. When you can line those things up, boy, really magical things can happen. You got the whole team on the same page. You got the whole team rowing the boat in the same direction at the same time at the same frequency, right? But I would encourage you not to just kind of create kind of flimsy goals. Make them bold goals, stretch goals where your team really they're within reason and they can achieve them and they're realistic, but they're also a stretch. It's also going to really push them to do it. And I would also invite you to do them in a SMART goal manner, right? SMART is an acronym. The S stands for specific, the M stands for measurable, the A stands for achievable, the R stands for relevant, and T stands for time bound. When you wrap goals in a SMART goal manner, you will achieve those goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and of course, time bound. You can't just go on forever without goals. When you can do that, you will have the team all on the same page. You will then have alignment from the top of the company to the bottom of the company. And I will tell you, as a 12-time CEO that led organizations around the world, I will tell you from all the people that I coach out there in the world, your greatest risk as a leader is in the middle. Like, people talk at the top, people talk at the bottom. But I can tell you that all too often, if you go ask the people at the front lines level about goals and objectives and priorities and vision, they are not in the loop. All breakdowns in communication, all breakdowns in strategy and plans and all of those kind of things happens in the middle. And so as leaders, we need to make sure we shore up the things going on in the middle so that the things that are happening from the top that need to be translated down to the front lines level is happening. And the things that are going on at the front lines level that need to have the time and the attention of the leaders at the top, that's happening as well, right? It's a two-way street there. By doing a plan as I'm laying out, ensures that happens, takes away those risks and threats there, right? So we've talked about the first four. Now we have the fifth and final step in this process. How do we start strategic planning and how do we navigate it? All right. So we've got, where are we today? Number one. Number two, where are we going? Number three, what needs to change for us to have an opportunity to achieve the future state? And then what are the action steps? What are the tasks and things we need to be doing at every level to execute the things we need to execute to get to this end state? That's a process. And so now that you understand that, I'm going to break down how I would recommend you do the process. One, this requires focus and intentionality, right? This involves the team. This is not a drill where the business owner goes on a vacation and comes back 2 weeks later and tells everybody what they're doing. This is a drill where the leadership team goes to an offsite location, gets away from the phones that are ringing, the emails going off, and all the day to day stuff, and they go away for a few days as a leadership team and work together, coming up with combining your experience and your expertise and your intelligence to build a cohesive plan. You need probably a couple of days, 2 to 3 days, depending on the size of your organization, right? Reserve a hotel conference room, or go, reserve a place in a kind of a quiet, off the beaten path place, and where you can just focus, cater the food in, have, people, doing the work. So you don't have to, do all the logistical stuff. You can go there, the team can relax, everybody can support them, and then have a coach or a consultant or somebody that really knows how to do strategic planning to facilitate this, to organize this for you, right? The last thing you want to do as a leader is do all the planning for this and do all of the logistics for this and all of the details for the, like, get out of all that and just set the time aside to prioritize this and let the experts do this. People hire me all the time to come into their business, get them out of their business, and facilitate planning, facilitate these things to make it really, really easy. The other thing about having a coach or a consultant facilitating these things is they're bringing an outside perspective. Guys like me coach people from all different types of shapes and sizes of businesses, different industries, etc. And we bring in best practices. We know where the issues lie. We know where the challenges in planning are, and we know how to get you through that and minimize the arguing and fighting and the people digging into the sand on their position, and know the right questions to ask. So get somebody that knows what the heck they're doing in there to make sure you go through this the right way. You've turned over all the stones, you've put all the things on the table, you've talked about things in the level of detail you need to, you've rooted out all of the details that are necessary, and that can get everybody at the end of this process, at the end of this, strategic leadership retreat, everybody's on the same page. Everybody's excited about where we're going. Everybody kind of knows what needs to happen next, so that these other leaders can go to their departments and kind of help the other team members build out their sub-level plans and build out the lower level details and goals and tasks and priorities underneath that, so that the whole darn team is part of that process, right? Having the plan is critical. More importantly, the process you go through is even more important. It brings the team together. It allows for really good accountability of each other. It allows for ideas to be born that you may not have thought of. It may create some innovation. It may create some breakthroughs. The power of the plan is the process of going through the plan. That's where the magic is. And obviously, the plan is the outcome because you share the plan. That's the sheet of music that everybody's connecting to. That's the thing that binds everybody together. So when things are going well, you can measure that and push the gas. And when things aren't going well, you bring everybody back to the Bible. You bring everybody back to that plan, that sheet of music, and say, time out. Here's where we are. Here's what the plan says we need to be doing. Let's refocus, do things the right way, and stay on track and prevent the team from going off into the ditch from time to time, right? Lastly, once you've built the plan, you've talked with your front lines folks and they're plugged in, they're bought in, they have their specific tasks and things that they need that's broken down on their level. The last piece of this whole puzzle is tracking the execution. Some people call them OKRs, some people call them KPIs. You're tracking the performance of the execution of the plan. You can track that in a lot of different ways, but you come up with some metrics that's broken down on a quarterly basis that from quarter to quarter, you know how well that plan's being executed. You know how much revenue you're bringing in, you know how much profitability you are achieving, you know where your marketing data is, you know where your sales numbers are, you know your customer service rankings are, you know how much market share you're taking. You're tracking that, and you can just kind of keep your finger on the pulse of that as that's transpiring throughout the year, so everybody's dialed in every quarter from month to month to month. And when you are able to do that, and you are able to kind of follow this simple recipe for success for your company, to implement a basic plan that everybody is aware of. There's a copy on everybody's desk. They can point to it. They can spew out the vision statement. They can spew out the core values. They can spew out their departmental priorities and goals and what their main focuses are and what they're doing every day to execute that and realize that. Boy, you've got an absolutely unstoppable team that wins championships on a regular basis. Remember, the people that plan the most win the most. For every 1 minute of planning creates an extra 10 minutes of greatness in your company. For every 1 minute of planning minimizes disruptions and chaos and rework and unnecessary things that get in the way of productivity and efficiency, saves on costs. It saves your customers from getting frustrated with you and complaining about you, creates more 5-star reviews, etc. Please take this seriously. It's simplified. There's no excuse. Follow the formula. It works. I promise you. I've been doing this for 30 years and it works. If you need help or have questions, reach out. Always happy to help, always happy to have a conversation and understand kind of where you're at and where things need to go for you to be where you want to be. That's it for today's show. Hope you got a lot of good action packed value from it. When you do, this will differentiate you from your peers and really help you go a lot farther. Now, next week, we got a really cool show in store for you. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to weatherproof your business from financial storms and ensure you are able to achieve maximum profitability. And so, really great episode to learn from an expert in this space, which is a great piggyback on top of today's planning, because we're in business to make money. We're setting you up for success so you can do that. So stay tuned. Look forward to talking with you next week. Have a great one, everybody.